Coming up, we take you to Teneke, a community with almost everything except a school.
They're forced to either move or homeschool.
How necessity has become the mother of invention, and not just in Teneke, but also on the North Slope, where the fight to keep language alive moves to a new battleground, preschool.
They hear sounds and they want to learn the sounds and mimic what you're saying.
Ahead, homegrown solutions, big and small.
Alaska, where there are old triumphs, but also new frontiers, with challenges as great as the state itself, but a belief the best is yet to come, bringing you the faces, the places, and the spirit of the last frontier. This is Frontiers with Rhonda McBride.
Welcome to Frontiers. This week, we explore new directions in Alaska education. In some of our state's smallest communities, change is not always the choice. At the start of every school year, there's that dreaded school count. If a school has at least 10 students, it gets full state funding. If not, it gets less money, and in most cases, that can mean the death of a school. Now, KTVA's Liz Raines went to one community that is refusing to give up.
That's right, Rhonda. We took a trip to Teneke Springs. It's a small town of about 60 year-round residents with hot springs and plenty of wildlife. Many who live there call it a family-friendly paradise. It's an old logging community tucked away on Chichagof Island, and although it's 55 miles outside of Juneau, transportation is one of many challenges.
There's just two ways to get to Alaska's Teneke Springs. By small plane,
attention on board the Laconnie. Laconnie's ferry to depart Teneke.
Or slow ferry. Either way, it's a breathtaking ride. Silent landscapes, untouched in a place where humans remain a minority. Over the years, people have been drawn here by the lifestyle, but to keep them, not easy when jobs are sparse and housing expensive. Teneke teeters between a weekend hideaway for Juneauites with its popular hot springs and a year-round community.
Your sister's doing math. When she gets done, you can do your math.
It's been Shelley Wilson's home for 26 years, and back then, it was noisier.
Even when my oldest started school, there was always 12 or 13 kids.
In time, the families grew fewer. The town's school wavered on the brink of uncertainty, so Shelley made a difficult choice.
It just felt like maybe the thing to do at that point, because it was getting to that point where there just wasn't kids to choose from anymore. Are you on easy grammar right now?
4 years ago, she became her kid's full-time teacher.
The first year was horrible, actually. It was absolutely horrible. And I think we all thought, what are we doing?
Hardest on her teenage daughter.
I cried, yeah. I was like, no, that's gonna suck really bad.
Think carefully about the noun you wish to modify.
Now Shelley's situation is the new norm in Teneke Springs. This year the school closed, just 3 students shy of the 10 needed to qualify for state money.
So parents they're forced to homeschool.
But its doors are still open, at least 3 days a week.
This is our library.
Teneke Springs is the first in Alaska to turn its school into an independent learning center where homeschoolers can get extra help and anyone can come to learn.
We're really trying to draw in the community as well. You know, the whole it takes a village to raise a child thing.
Still, the move wasn't enough to keep Teneke's only teacher in town.
We need to continue working.
So Gordon's wife, Ann, had to move away for work.
A surprising 20 miles away, but on a different island and very difficult to get to.
For years, he's tried to recruit new families to help grow Teneke.
Life free of cars, crime, violence.
And even posted an ad on Craigslist.
Sort of a desperate measure that caught people's attention.
Do you ever get anybody calling now about this ad?
You know, it's all over the internet. There were articles written, there were quotes in the Wall Street Journal, and so occasionally when people Google Teneke Springs, they'll see that we have made this effort.
And it worked for a while.
Some families are still here and some have come and gone, but it has managed to sustain the school through a number of years.
So they use one word here, Here's your adjective.
Tennekee's parents, now turned teachers, will follow in Shelley's footsteps, hopeful that the sun won't set on a town that's left its tiny, yet century-old footprint on Alaska's southeast coastline.
The Chatham School District, which is in charge of Tennekee's school, will reevaluate its options next year to bring back its teacher. It will have to reach that 10-student minimum by October, and right now the town has 7 students with 2 kids who will become school age next year, so it could be close.
Oh boy. Well, you mentioned that the Tennekee School is the first one to create an independent learning center. Where did they get this idea?
Well, it actually came from a small town in Vermont, and everybody is giving credit to the Chatham School District superintendent for being really innovative in this approach, really trying to keep the doors open this year.
Well, there's another Southeast School, Port Protection. They closed this year. Are they looking at maybe doing the same thing?
Well, I talked to the superintendent there, but they had a much bigger challenge because the only students that were left in the community were actually the children of the teachers themselves. So when they dipped below that 10-student minimum, the teachers had to leave, and they took all of the kids with them. So they're actually without kids in that community now.
Well, Liz, on Monday and Tuesday, you are going to bring us more of Tennekee. So what's on tap?
Well, we're going to be taking a look at how Tennekee is reinventing itself with use of geothermal and hydro energy to try to lower their energy costs. So we'll be looking at that on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we're going to take a look at how the town, which used to be a logging town, now is left with its last logger, who calls himself the first logger. And we'll tell you why on Tuesday.
Well, he sounds like a character. I never get tired of looking at Tennekee. Thanks, Liz. I'm looking forward to your series. And it is good to hear how communities problem solve. Well, up next, we take you to the North Slope to a bilingual preschool.
You have a nest, and that's our language. And inside of it, we have our young ones.
They're like little birds, hungry to learn. Why preschool is prime time to teach the Inupiaq language.
Air travel for Frontiers is provided by Pen Air. When business or recreation takes you anywhere across the state, Pen Air is there. The only family-owned airline serving Alaska. Pen Air, the spirit of Alaska.
The Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium provides comprehensive health services for Alaska Native and American Indian people across our state. In addition to world-class care at the Alaska Native Medical Center, our work delivers health services for rural Alaska. From cutting-edge technology for the best care possible, to modern construction of clean water systems and health clinics, to health training and outreach that honors our culture, our vision is that Alaska Native people are the healthiest people in the world.
Lions Club is made up of individuals coming together in shared interest in cultures with the goal of community service. Veterans clubs, sports cars, cultural clubs, something for everybody. It's fun and fellowship as we serve our community together, providing services, donating time, and coordinating events. Lions Club is young and old, men and women giving back to the communities they serve. Won't you join us? Call or visit our website to find out how.
We're out climbing mountains every weekend. There's just something about being at the top of the mountain, sometimes by yourself or with your family, and it's so beautiful and so serene, and you just feel like striking a yoga pose.
Now, when this fire roared to life yesterday around 1 p.m., it took a lot of people by surprise.
That's where I like to be. I like to be where things are happening, where people are. That's just how I am. I just don't want to sit around behind a desk. I mean, I think it's important to actually be out there telling the stories from where the stories are happening. We're about exceptional journalism, and I think we've really proved that. I think we're working hard every single day to achieve that, and that's what you're going to get.
Alaska has just one tribal college, recently rated by Wallet Hub as the #2 community college in the nation. Now, it's not something you'd expect at the top of the world in Barrow, also known as Utgarvik, home to the Ilisavik College, which just celebrated its 20th anniversary.
Connect up, it's like a sealed jerky.
Ilisavik College has a dorm where you can find freezers full of seal meat and whale steaks, but that wasn't why Wallet Hub gave the college high marks. Ilisavik's low student-faculty ratio and low tuition were big factors. It also recognized the community for its innovative programs that incorporate Inupiaq culture and values. The director credits the college's tribal status.
One of the greatest things is that we are able to be incredibly responsive to the needs, not only here on the North Slope, but the needs all across the state of Alaska, something that other larger bureaucratic systems just aren't able to do.
Ilisavik offers a range of programs which support the oil industry in fields such as information technology, construction, and environmental safety. It also has an Inupiaq Studies program and is a leader in early childhood learning for Indigenous peoples. Well, that's our next story, but first, a quick Inupiaq lesson. The word ariga, ariga, means that's good, and you'll hear ariga a lot in our next story about an Inupiaq bilingual preschool. The sound of the waves that lap at the shores of the Arctic and the whales that feed the people are part of the rhythm of life here in Utqiagvik. The community recently voted to change its name from Barrow to keep their language and culture alive.
Ready to sayok?
One of many steps, big and small. The words are simple. One verse of I am a girl, the second, I am a boy.
Adiga.
Adiga, very good, she says. The words planted in these children have already taken root. They speak them at home, so their parents learn too. Naomi Asok asks a student to point to a nachik, or a seal. Good job. Goyanakpuk, thank you very much, she says.
They hear sounds and they want to learn the sounds and mimic what you're saying.
The earlier the better, Naomi says, something she knows from her own personal experience.
I believe in myself from my family because they have immersed me since I was a kid. I was dancing at the age of 7. Ika pika kana uva, ika pika kana uva, ika pika kana uva, suminya panya.
The children sing, over there, up there, down there, right here. The words help give the children a sense of direction and an inner compass.
I want them to feel happy that they're Inupiaq. I want them to embrace who they are.
Ready to go faster?
The song picks up the pace quickly, like language skills do at this early age.
Your other shoe on, please.
The dream here is to someday have a preschool where only Inupiaq is spoken.
And your ball,
The children must not only prepare for the cold, but learn to walk in two worlds. Small steps today go a long way towards tomorrow.
One more time. Ikani pikani kanani uvani, ikani pikani kanani uvani, ikani pikani kanani uvani, sumi nyakanya.
The preschool is called Akachum Ugla, which translates into language nest. The idea is that schools should be like a nest to hold our children. Well, still to come, we continue the conversation from the front lines of rural education. Yvonne Peter from UAF joins us here in Anchorage, and we'll also have Lance Twitchell, a native language professor from Juneau, when we come back.
I just want cremation.
No hidden costs, no add-ons.
Cremation is much more affordable.
Dignified, ecological.
I just want something basic. The simpler, the better.
Cremation sure makes a lot of sense. The Cremation Society of Alaska is now serving families in Anchorage and in the Valley, and we are always on the web at alaskacremation.com. Call us today at 277-2777 or in the Valley, 373-8627.
I am the force behind the brave men and women who love this country so dearly, they go into harm's way to defend it.
For those serving far from home, I am the force that makes sure home has their back.
I am the force behind all who serve, connecting them to every comfort of family, home, and country possible.
We are the force.
We are the force.
We are the force behind the forces.
Visit uso.org/force to learn how you can be the force behind the forces.
You don't have to live in a big city to be a foster parent. You don't have to have a big house, a fancy car, or lots of money. What you need is a home. What you need is a heart that can open to a child who needs you. Won't you become a foster parent today? A child is waiting. Call 1-800-478-7307.
Good morning, I'm Megan Mazurek.
And I'm James Gaddis.
Well, I came to Alaska to fulfill my dream of finally working on a morning show. It's the one thing I want to do. When I got here, it was just a man and his dog. Now I've got a few more priorities, a few more responsibilities. Life has changed for the best in ways that I never imagined. I knew this would be, one of those trips, one of those life-changing ventures coming up here, but I didn't think it would be anything as fulfilling as this.
Well, if there is one thing our next two guests are passionate about, that's injecting Alaska Native culture and values and languages into our schools and colleges. And joining us now, Yvonne Peter, a Vice Chancellor at UAF. And we also have Lance Twitchell coming to us from Juneau. He's a professor of Native languages at the University of Alaska Southeast. So I guess maybe we could begin and get some flavors of Native language from Tlingit country. So we'll start with you, Lance.
And
so what did you just say to us?
I said, great, and thank you in both Tlingit and in Haida. And then in Tlingit, my name is Chone, and it's good to see you all.
It's good to see you too. So Yvonne, you are Gwich'in.
Chet, Hait Cho, Jukton Gwinzi, Nachunjit. And what I shared was Ariga, but in Gwich'in, which is Chet, which means all right, that's good. And it's good to see everyone this afternoon.
Say that again, Chet?
Chet.
That means very good, right?
Yep.
So you brought a drum with us, with you. Tell us about that.
I brought the drum in honor of the late Chief David Salmon from Chalkitsik, who was a real big advocate of education among our people, but also remembering the cultural tools for teaching that our people have, and to always utilize those as well, and to integrate them really into how we do education.
So let's turn to Lance here. In Southeast Alaska, what are some of the tools people use to teach?
Some of the tools we use to teach are, we bring in the drum, and we have songs, and we talk about whose clans those songs belong to. We have a number of different cultural artifacts and things that are just belonging to our people and that are in the lifeblood of our people. And the primary thing is our language. We bring our language into the schools, and we see it throughout the Juneau area and across Southeast Alaska, more use and expectation of knowing our native languages.
Well, throughout Alaska, different communities have different levels of language erosion. And on the North Slope, you see quite a bit between the generations. Grandparents speak, but parents don't, and children barely know their language in many cases. So, Yvonne, what did you think about what you saw about the Barrow program?
It was wonderful. I think that really the concept of language nests have worked in places like New Zealand, Hawaii. It makes sense for us to be getting as many of them going throughout our state as we possibly can, and having diverse partnerships to help support make them happen. So it was wonderful to see.
You know, a lot of people feel reluctant. They feel like the language has eroded so far that they can't speak it perfectly. And so they're leery about it. And I know that in this particular school, they're teaching words, not fluent conversations right now. Lance, any thoughts on why people should feel bad, about not being able to speak perfectly?
You could take any English speaker off the street and they probably speak very flawed English at times. And so our focus is primarily on communication. And we also stress that with our language teams that we work with here, that if you wait until the situation is just right, you're going to find that the situation is going to get much, much worse. And so our languages are in a heavy state of decline. A lot of our speakers are very elderly. And so we see the time being, we're past time. But we have to look at the right now and say language nests, immersion schools, and increased adult fluency programs.
Now, in your region, there have been a number of programs that elders have come to the schools and taught. Have you seen a lot of hope in that?
Yeah, and so we have some wonderful programs here, like the TCLL program, and also in Glacier Valley School here in Juneau, and also in the junior high and the high school. We have wonderful teachers and elders who come in and really create a lot of exposure, get the students used to the language. The concern that we have is that it's not a core part of the curriculum, and so if it's not required at the same levels as other subjects, then you're communicating to students and to everybody that it's not as important.
Well, one of the things that we're seeing now are just big cutbacks everywhere. In fact, in the university system, they cut some near and dear sports programs. So what are we going to do? How do we navigate this if we want to get these kind of programs in the schools?
I think right now is a critical time for us to be looking at what are our options? What type of transformative changes can we put into place that can help to increase our graduation rate, our college going rate, support success for our students across Alaska, and as referenced earlier in the Native Hawaiian context, full immersion schools that go K through 12 or pre-K through 12 are showing higher graduation rates and higher success rates for students going through those schools. And I think it makes complete sense for us to be looking at that. And that would also lend to opening up more opportunities for us to receive federal dollars as well to help match some of our state dollars in a potential tribal school system.
So you get a community that's struggling in preserving its language. What does having a basic program of any kind do? Let's say for the teachers of these courses, what do you see happen?
Well, it's an interesting thing because right now one of the major conversations we're also looking at, of course, within the UA system in the state is how can we restructure our schools of education to produce more teachers that will be retained, especially in rural and Alaska Native communities. And so I think that this is an incredible opportunity for us to integrate Indigenous knowledge, Indigenous languages into the teacher training programs that we offer as well.
Lance, let's go to you in Juneau. What do you see happening when a basic program gets ignited in a community?
Yeah, I think you create a lot of hope for your people, and some of the messages that we try to convey is that it's not too late and that you have everything that you need to do what you need to do, which is to get learning, get speaking, and get your kids surrounded by the language. And so we look at things in terms of whole language to say we don't want 1,000 people that know 100 words, but we want 10,000 people who are fully fluent. And so those are some of our goals, is to try and make sure that we're looking at the integrity of the language and everything that is needed to communicate it at a level that is satisfactory to our ancestors, who are the ones delivering the messages to us about what we need to do. And some of the things that we look at is, can we make teachers fast enough? And are there decisions being made statewide that make it harder for people to become teachers, or is it going to be, it's going to take them longer to become a teacher? And I think another big initiative we need to undertake is tribal control of schools, and in particular in rural Alaska, and in places where we can say, okay, we can develop a curriculum that'll work for our kids. And as Yvonne mentioned, the Hawaiian model, we're modeling some of our programs here after a school that has a 20-year record of a 100% graduation rate. They don't teach their language, but they teach the whole world through their language.
Well, both of you work for a state university system, and we only have one tribal college. Do we just have more tribal colleges, or do we form partnerships?
Well, I think if we look at the model of tribal self-determination, where Alaska Native tribes and peoples took over management of healthcare from the Indian Health Service, took over management of government services from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, are running successful corporations, I really think the next iteration is in self-determination and education. And I think we could see that through the formation of a potential tribal school system at K-12 that could be in partnership with the state as well as the Bureau of Indian Education at the federal level, and also with tribal colleges. And I know there's a lot of tribes and tribal organizations across the state interested in advancing the conversation around a tribal college system in the state. And I think the University of Alaska is well situated to help partner and build something together collectively.
Lance, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I fully agree. And so we currently have a piece of legislation that technically prohibits tribes from running their own schools. And I think that is impeding self-governance, which is an agreement between tribes and the federal government. And I think we need to look at things like that and say, well, let's get that out of the way, because we really need to focus on our children. The survival rate is too low, and not just a graduation rate, but a survival rate. And so I think if we bring our languages back up to a healthy level, we'll see a much healthier people. And we have to also look at these concepts like living in two worlds, which is a wonderful metaphor to talk about, but it's actually a multiplicity of worlds. We have people who are studying with us who can speak Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian and English, and they're brilliant, capable people. We need to say that is actually what we expect for everybody who lives in our region.
Now, in the Ilisavik College, what you saw was that the students started out with one level of language, and in the process of teaching, they picked up more of their language. Is this common?
Yeah, I think the stage that we're at with many of our Alaska Native languages across the state is where we have many people who are learning their native language as a second language while teaching. And for any teacher, you'll know the best way to learn something and to really get it ingrained in you is to learn it and then teach it right away. And in some cases, our elders will say, you hear a traditional story, share it about 6 times right away within the next week, and then you'll start to lodge that in your permanent memory.
We're just about out of time, but do you think as a whole state, native or non-native, that we benefit by supporting indigenous languages?
Absolutely. I think what's good for Alaska Native students and young people is good for all Alaskans. Diversity is a really important piece of what we are here in Alaska, and I think that advances education for all of us.
All right, well, I want to thank both of you, Lance Twitchell in Juneau with our sister station Kath, and Yvonne Peter from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Thank you for being with us. And on Frontiers, we do like to look at solutions as well as problems, and so we hope that we have given you some food for thought this week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.